So I'm not even mad at you, baby. I don't feeling like fake news. This is the thing. I know people don't like Trump. I understand that. But let me tell you something. If I had to pick between him and Joe Biden, I'm not voting in Joe Biden. You want to see a bunch of black people go to jail by the next 4 years? Put Joe Biden in. Watch what happens. You want to see black men get killed substantially? Like you've never seen before, put Joe Biden in and watch what happens. These Democrats, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm not trying to be racist, but they hate black people. These are the same people who fought to keep slavery in. These are the same people who built the KKK. These are the same people who hated us from the beginning. The Republican Party is the party of the blacks. Blacks free, the Republican Party is the only party that the black people actually assisted in finding. But all of that history has been torn away. People say, oh, there was this big switch. There was never a big switch. The Union won because we had grown in the industrial era. So we were able to get trains and get supplies back to our soldiers while the Confederate was still riding horses. They were not able to get the supplies back fast enough, right? So what happened was once slavery was abolished in the South, the people in the South could no longer make their money from slaves. They had to move to the North to work in the industry to produce. And so the people in the North that already had established themselves in the industry moved to the South. And so that's where it was a transfer of people coming from the South to the North and people coming from the North to the South. There was never a big switch. So the same Democrats who hated black people from the beginning are the same ones who hate us now. And they use our cause. How did Black Lives Matter turn into something about LGBTQ? When blacks really don't support that. We're conservative. We're really not about that. Not only that, we don't support abortion. We're about working. This is the black culture. We ain't ever been about that. Not only that, we're not about feminism. No, we're not. Black women marry their husbands and respect their husbands. That's what we on. We're not on this, oh, I do what I want. We don't do that. That's not our community, and you would understand. I know you understand what I'm saying. Come on. We don't do that. But yet these people are hijacking our movement, and the Democratic Party, they're trying to hijack our stuff. No.
All right, so this video is going to be a very touchy topic for a lot of brothers and sisters. So if you react through emotions instead of logic, I suggest you don't even watch this video, okay? I'm going to address the LGBT community and the Black Lives Matter movement. Let me start off by saying that I am not a homophobic. A phobia is a fear, and I am not afraid of homosexuals, nor do I hate them. I do not hate any black person because of something that they practice or something that they have been conditioned to do. I do not hate black people that worship white deities. I do not hate black people that are feminists. I do not hate black people that are patriotic and give their consent to be governed and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I do not hate black people that practice interracial relationships, and I do not hate black people that practice same-sex relationships. All of these things are conditions of white supremacy. And whether it be conscious or subconscious, those that practice these things in one way or another support white supremacy, and that is what I hate. I hate white supremacy, not the actual black person that supports it unknowingly. Homosexuality has been conditioned into our people. The same way that that white deity was beaten and forced and conditioned onto us during slavery, the same way that that Miss Independent, I don't need a man mentality was indoctrinated in us during slavery, is the same way that homosexuality was conditioned and forced and raped into us during slavery. It is not part of our African culture. Male homosexuality actually derived from ancient Greece, and pedophilia actually derived from ancient Rome. And that is why still today in the Greco-Roman Catholic Church, men still engage in sexual relations with young boys. And they have many artifacts and statues that prove that this is something that they've been practicing all throughout their history. In Africa, we don't have artifacts and evidence that prove we practice homosexuality. Now, there are some people that try to use our ancient Kemetic ancestors, Neankh-Khnum and Khnum-Hotep, and they try to use an image where they are depicted nose to nose, and they try to say that that is where homosexuality originated from. But much evidence and many historians suggest that they were twins. They were twin brothers, and that's why they have the same name. They both had wives, they both had children, and they were overseers in the same palace, and they were buried together, and that is why they are depicted that way, because they were twin brothers. There is no evidence that homosexuality was practiced in Kemet or anywhere in Africa. During slavery, gay slave owners would actually grease up and shine up our young boys, and they would put jewelry and women's clothing on them, and they would use them as sex slaves. That is one of the many methods that slave owners use to demasculate and devalue the black male. They would take fathers out of the homes, leaving young boys with nothing but the influence of their mothers. They would take the masculine alpha male on the plantation, and they would make examples out of him by beating him and killing him and even sometimes raping him. They would even take their women and rape them in front of the male, and he would be able to do absolutely nothing about it. And those that did do something about it, those that did react, were killed as well. And so for a young boy to see this, it actually takes value from the role of a masculine black man. It brings resentment towards the masculine black man. He doesn't want to grow up to be anything like him. And that is still happening today. It's still happening in modern day. Only now they have the media to further propagate their agenda. Look at the television shows that appeal to black people. You have Empire, Love and Hip Hop, Prince and Elite's Big Frida, Fashion Queens. You have a television show where black preachers are gay, and in the black community, preachers are leaders. So what message does that give to our young boys? Also, they have these rappers now that are so feminine. They wear makeup, they wear women's clothing, and their rap and their lyrics all degrade black women. They are constantly calling women bitches and hoes and saying how much they don't love them. And the men that are consistently talking about black women in a negative way and saying that they don't love them, they're actually really just suggesting that they don't like women. They actually prefer men. And these are the role models that our children have to look up to now. Our black men are being targeted now. And that is because a gay black man is less of a threat to white supremacy than a heterosexual black man. Now, I know a lot of brothers and sisters will say that they were born gay, but there is no evidence that suggests that black people are born gay. And the evidence that they have provided was actually funded by the LGBT community itself. And so that's kind of like the FDA providing research saying that GMOs are healthy. You can't really trust that. That's not really a credible source, because they're going to tell us anything if they're funding it. They're going to tell us anything to carry out their own agendas, you know? And so, and as far as funding goes, the Black Lives Matter movement funds the LGBT community. They fund the LGBT movement. The 3 women that founded the Black Lives Matter movement are gay women themselves. The Black Lives Matter movement to me is a lot like President Barack Obama. It's a black face, there's a black name, it appeals to black people, and black people think that they are committed to the needs of black people, when in all actuality, they are more committed to the needs of the LGBT community. What is it that the Black Lives Matter movement has done for black people besides spread awareness? Which is not something we really need. I'm pretty sure that we are all aware that we are being killed. But they have raised over $500 million. What are they doing with that? Where are the schools? Where is the land? Where are our infrastructures? They are not really doing anything for us. They are funding the LGBT community. And the Black Lives Matter movement itself is funded by rich white men, white supremacy. And they support the LGBT community because the LGBT is population control, which is white supremacy. And so that is why I do not support the Black Lives Matter movement. If Black lives really mattered, they would be condoning something that promotes more reproduction of the black life and not reducing the black life. They would be endorsing something that is going to cause us to reproduce less. And that is something that the LGBT movement does. It promotes us not reproducing as much. It's population control. And so that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I'm pretty sure, like I said, a lot of people were offended by this video, but you all should know by now that nothing that I say, there is no topic that goes untouched. And I don't ever say anything to intentionally hurt anyone's feelings. I just give insight. And so that's really all I have to say about that, family. Peace and love.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just thought that was weird shit. And I'm not no Black Lives Matter supporter.
You're not?
No, absolutely
Why not?
Because it's not our movement. This is a movement that was given to us by, George Soros and his fucking boys. Because they saw how things were going and they didn't want it to go back to the 60s to where we start having our own organic movements. That was a big fucking problem for them. So let's give the people a movement that we can control, will provide them the leaders and all of this type of shit. And yeah, that's what Black Lives Matter is. Look at the leaders of Black Lives Matter.
Are there leaders of Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
Who?
Look at these lesbian women who are trying to incorporate, you know, LG, whatever the fuck the letters are, incorporate their concerns into black people's concerns. Go to the website, look it up. Google George Soros and Black Lives Matter, see what comes up.
Let's look it up.
Okay. And you know, y'all out there, George Soros is a fucking multi-billionaire down with, you know, some of the 12 richest people in the fucking
He raised
world.
$100 million
Yep.
for the Black Lives Matter Coalition. The funding comes in addition to more than $33 million in grants from top Democratic Party donor George Soros. Okay, here we go. Okay, so yeah. So
What billionaire would have done that for the Black Panther Party?
33 million. Well, hold on.
Huh?
Hold on. In high school, I read some books about the Black Panther movement.
Mm-hmm. Charlton Heston, maybe people like that.
The Black Panther movement would have. There was a famous book called "Radical Chic and Mau Mauing the Flatcatchers."
Okay.
And it basically puts you in these scenes where you had these, you know, the Huey P. Newtons and the Bobby Seals would go to these rich white families' houses and have these intellectual debates.
I know about that.
You know what I'm saying? With these white millionaires.
Did anybody give him $30 million
Well, at the end, these people would cut checks.
Not no $30 million checks. Maybe a 5,000, 10,000. You see what I'm saying? This was breakfast programs and, you know, a smaller scale.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Rich white people have historically financed some of this stuff.
Some of it, not all of it.
Which is why I said
You know
some
what I
of it.
mean?
Yeah, I
And
didn't say all of it.
And that was more guilt money rather than
Fair enough.
control money. See, this started at the impetus of the whole shit. This is control money. This is not, oh, I feel bad for what we've done as white people. You came to my house and shamed me, and now I'm going to cut you a check. You know what I mean? That's not what that is about. That's about, let us give you a movement that we can control, use certain symbolism from the original civil rights movement, like the black, you know, red, black, and green, all these different symbols. We're going to incorporate that, but only it's going to be a movement that we control. We decide what the messages are. We decide what the slogans are. You know, what happened to no justice, no peace, and, you know, no peace, no justice. Now it's hands up, don't shoot, fucking I can't breathe, and all these negative affirmations that, you know, who made that shit up? You know what I mean? Wasn't me. You know, and like, we're living in a time of great social engineering. Okay? Now, if y'all don't know what social engineering is, go look it up. Like, there's people out there that know how to scientifically make society do what they want it to do, how they want it to be done. They're engineering how society should be. That's social engineering. So when we sit here and talk about, you know, things like false evolution, you know, when we say, oh, hip hop's just going that way. No, it's not. It was socially engineered to go in the way that it's going right now. You see, this Black Lives Matter is a social engineering of how a civil rights movement should move. You see what I'm saying? And this is what we have to look at. Not everything is organic.
Well, you also don't see any clear leaders in Black Lives Matter. You had D. Ray. He's been kind of the face of Black Lives Matter for a while.
Why, when he's not the leader? You see what I'm
That's what I'm
saying?
saying, there's no real
Why
leader.
is he? There is leaders. This is what I'm telling you. They're lesbians. They're black lesbians.
Key people are Sean King.
Who's that?
He's a writer for New York Daily News.
I'm not talking about who key people. Go to the fucking website. Who runs the shit?
Is there a website?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because when I looked at Black Lives BLM leader, the key people there's no leader that's listed, but the key people that are listed is Sean King, DeRay McKeeson, and Jonetta Elzie.
Those people don't run Black Lives Matter. Although they might be the face right now, they're not the ones calling the shots.
But even if they're the face, somewhat, they don't hold even remotely the significance of a Martin Luther King, a Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad.
Because those were real movements. Those were real movements starting from real
Huey
love.
P. Newton.
Yeah.
Right.
Those were real movements. You know?
Like MLK.
Marcus Garvey. Come on, Marcus Garvey is the foundation of all of this in America.
Marcus Garvey was Jamaican, right?
Yes, but he came here in America, started the Unia Improvement, Association, and got on his Back to Africa shit and Black Star Line and bought ships and all of that type of shit. Right. Got his money from black people. He didn't go to the white people and all of that.
You guys had a song called Black Star Line.
Exactly.
That was
based on
right.
that.
There we go.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, and all those people came, from out of that movement. Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad, He was the precursor to all of that. He was the one to do for self. And they, the government went against them.
Right. I mean, before then you got Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, but he wasn't like a Marcus Garvey. You understand what I'm saying? Like Marcus Garvey was some whole other shit.
So that to you was the ultimate black leader?
Pretty much, yeah. Because he exemplified, well, especially for here in the wilderness of North America. You know what I mean? Like, without his message at the time that he brought it, and it was super radical, and then the pride that he brought to black people, I mean, they had a parade in Harlem. And this man had on like military dress type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? And just